Indiana Jones. It's a podcast about Indiana Jones. Every movie, 1 minute at a time. Indiana Jones Minute.
Welcome back to the Indiana Jones Minute. This is the podcast where we discuss the film Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, one crazy old friend at a time. My name is Tom Taylor.
Here in Death's Dream Kingdom, the Golden Vision reappears. I'm Pete Norway.
I'm Gerald Christopher Marcus Porter.
And I'm Mitch Prairie Dog Brian.
Hey.
Hey, welcome back, Mitch.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. You're always an honored guest here. We're going to need your skills and your expertise to help us make sense of minute 61 of Crystal Skull, which begins with Indy dismissing the legend that whoever returns the skull to Akator will gain its power, and it ends with our hero identifying himself as Henry Jones Jr.
So this is the second time he's talked about this as a bedtime story. And I think the first time we kind of thought that, okay, maybe his parents told it to him when he was a kid or something. But I'm starting to think this might be something different. Like, I think this is more like you be the alien, I'll be the conquistador kind of bedtime story.
Yeah, you yank my head off my shoulders. Yeah.
That's not the note that I had, Peter.
That's a weird word to use to describe it, though. And he uses it twice in the movie.
And it's like a standout line from Last Crusade. Not standout. I mean, we're nerds, so we know the movie by heart. But, Last Crusade, Donovan and Indy had that little exchange about, it's a bedtime story I'd like to wake up to.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
That's not how bedtime stories work, but okay.
So you were falling asleep,
Right.
and then you woke up, and there's someone telling you a bedtime story?
Yeah. Like, why are you still here? You're supposed to leave the whole point of you reading to me is to get me to go to sleep. And once I do, you can just go.
You're telling me a bedtime story, but I'm already asleep.
Yeah, it's no longer bedtime. I'm in bed.
It's no longer bedtime. So who's telling Indy these bedtime stories?
I don't know.
That's what I'm wondering. Is it Henry
Oxley?
Jones Sr.?
Well, yeah, or is it
maybe
is it Elsa?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Elsa.
Ox told them to Mutt to put him to sleep, though, right?
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Right.
Do you think that, like we were saying last time, that Indy might be kind of not warming to, but kind of maybe slightly accepting of the idea of saucer men from Mars, even though he's making fun of it and stuff. Like, there's a hint of maybe. Does he have an easier time with that than he does with the psychic magic powers or something? Because he's like full on scoffing at that. He's
I think he does. Because that seems like it's more based in. That doesn't make sense, though, because everything he's done has had weird paranormal powers.
Yeah, you'd think that. Yeah, you would think that he would be able to accept that spookier kind of psychic stuff more easily because he's at least dealt with that. But again, why do you never believe the evidence of your own eyes or whatever, Dr. Jones?
But the aliens make sense in a way because he knows something squirrely at Area 51.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's more leeway for the possibility of aliens in Indy's life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I still, by the way, the way he's acting this is I don't think he believes it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like there's no way he wouldn't believe it, but I think the way he plays it, it's like he doesn't believe it.
Exactly. The movie is flipping on itself in a weird way. There's no way that he wouldn't at least think that it could be possible, except that the way he's saying this, you're like, he's like, I've been from one side of this galaxy to the next, and I've seen a lot of strange stuff.
Right.
Well, it's the same. It's the same thing. It's the same mixed signals. Like Spalko is threatening Indy by gently pushing his legs apart and resting on his knees. It's just weird.
And she says this business about Stalin's psychic power, right? That Stalin is going to have a psychic weapon.
That was his dream or whatever.
Right?
Stalin's dream.
I'm sure Indy rolls his eyes at that.
Yeah,
I mean, that's just,
right.
Yeah.
Well, then we see Oxley outside, and he's having a ball.
He's having the time of his life. Yeah.
Yeah, as this nuts guy, like he's living in a bedtime story that he doesn't want to wake up to, wake up from. I should say.
Yeah. And Mitch, I got to say, we wanted to have you on for this minute specifically because you and John Engel did the Alien Minute featuring our friend John Hurt. And isn't it nice to see him in this movie, too? I shouldn't phrase it like that.
Don't you remember, and what did I say when you told me that you wanted me to come on and talk about John Hurt in the movie? Do you remember what my reaction was?
I think it was something to the effect of, John Hurt is in Crystal Skull?
I didn't even remember he was in the movie.
But I do have to say, I'll okay, not to play my cards or anything or show my cards, but I think he's fairly wasted in this movie. Like, not as a character. I think they don't use him to his
drunk.
Right, he's not drunk. I think he is not used to his full capacity as an actor. But I do think in this minute 61, like we've been just in a fog the last few minutes with like Mac yelling at Indy and Indy scoffing at Russians and stuff. But John Hurt comes in and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. All right, there's John Hurt, and there's some nice touches that come up in this
agree.
minute.
I kind of like this.
And preceded by a vintage, Steven Spielberg push in on Indy when he realizes that Ox is there. It's kind of like, wait, it's an Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, here's a character who we've had Mac, we've had like Mutt and all these people he either doesn't know or does know, but we, the audience, don't believe that he knows them, like Mac or something. Here is somebody who Indy actually has a strong personal historical connection with. And you can see that. Like, we never got that from anything he's done with Mac. We never got any kind of sense that they were actually pals. But just this one look, when he realizes that Oxley's showing up, you're like, oh, okay, Indy knows this guy, he loves this guy, and he can't believe he's seeing him right now.
Yeah, there feels like there's more here.
Yeah.
He comes in and he swirls the cane forwards, right? And then backwards.
I love that move.
Yeah, it's a great move. And then it makes this noise.
See, I have a theory about that.
Is it paranormal?
No, well, like, it doesn't Akator contain all the treasures of the ages? Like, I think it's like a 1970s Kenner lightsaber.
Oh my God!
Didn't they make that exact noise when he would throw them around?
I think it was more 80s, Pete, but yes. No, you're exact. You know what? I was trying to think of that. That is exactly right. It was like a hollow thing with some vents at the bottom, so it would make this kind of hollow, airy sound. Yeah. I actually looked it up, and I like. There's nothing official about what he's holding, but people are like, "Oh yeah, that's a bull roarer thing or whatever," like that you would spin and it makes that sound, like almost like a. Oh, I'm going to forget the name of it.
Yeah, like those rain sticks, but it's different. It's not a rain stick.
Exactly.
It doesn't have anything inside of it. But yeah,
right.
A bull roarer, I think is what that's called, right?
I think so. Yeah. I can't tell you what it is, but I think that's what it is.
Huh.
Yeah.
The script just says a musical pole.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
A bull roarer is a musical pole. There's your definition.
I do think that line is one of the funniest lines in the movie. When he says, "I know you, and you're not this interesting."
That's a fantastic
it's
line.
a great
That's
line.
really awesome.
I agree.
Really
That's the most
funny. I don't know whether it's an Indiana Jones line, really, but it's a funny line.
Yeah, I think that's. I think that's the best line of the movie too.
It is.
Right
before that, when he first sees him and he's watching him like do his thing with his cane, his bull roarer thing, and he's watching him, he's like, "You're faking it, right?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh my God, that's really sad."
Yeah.
That's actually really touching. Like, Indy's like freaked out that he knows this guy and he's obviously nuts, and he's like, "Oh, come on, Oxley, no, really, are you nuts? Oh, it's horrible. You're faking, right?" That's actually really touching.
Well, I didn't fully understand that. I was like, is he saying that for the Russians in the room?
No, I think it's from his heart. I think he's like, "Oh no, what happened to Oxley?"
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's like if Brody came in or something and was like dancing like that, you'd be like, wait, what?
But,
oh no.
Like, I wonder how, like, the reason it seems like he might be faking it is that he comes in, like, the poem I was quoting in the intro it's a T.S. Eliot poem, Eyes That I Last Saw in Tears, and he's quoting that. And I think unfortunately, he's not quoting it because it's a lovely poem. He's quoting it because I think later there will be a waterfall with like eyes coming out, like water coming out of it, like in tears.
Neat.
Which is dumb, but he seems like he's got enough presence of mind to be quoting, poetry that he learned.
Yeah.
Although I
probably
do have to
what we would do if we were nuts and we had to make up riddles to describe things. We'd probably like do it.
It's like Star Wars references.
Or something.
Yeah.
Sure.
Although if you're gonna quote like great poets of the past, I feel like, and then make a movie of it, I feel like Xanadu did a much better job than Chris Skull.
A place where nobody did. Okay.
Well, so then Indy, says it's me in. He pulls Oxley close and he goes, "It's me in," and he lowers his voice and he says, "Henry Jones Jr."
He looks around.
What is he, why? I don't get that. I'm so
I don't get
confused by that.
Okay, so question for you, Tommy.
Okay.
So Oxley and Indy were both at the University of Chicago, right? So were they like peers? Were they were both students in like the graduate archaeology program?
Yeah, we were wondering much
I guess
earlier.
the undergraduate archaeology program?
I don't know, because I don't know how close they are in age. Like we were wondering about this like way earlier. Like, was he like a father figure to him, or was he a compatriot? Were they just peers?
But why would he have to say Henry Jones Jr. to Oxley?
Not Indy. Yeah,
and when he's in like college, or either college or graduate school with them. I think maybe college. Like he's way known as Indy.
Yeah,
right?
that's a good point.
Yeah,
and so it made me think like, was it a thing with his dad? Like I could see if Oxley was his next door neighbor, he might say Henry Jones Jr. Like I grew up with you. You knew me since I was like 3. But you're like, so he knows him since he was in college, and in college he was known by Henry Jones Jr. And then it got me thinking, so who knows Indy as Henry Jones Jr. other than his dad?
We sort of had the sense that it was just his dad.
Yeah.
Yes.
From Last Crusade.
Like
that he was the only one who
forever.
ever called him that. Yeah.
And you're like,
the way it reads here is that it's like he's embarrassed in front of the Russians to say his nickname. To like say that that people call him Indiana Jones.
But see, in the script it says,
sounds silly.
My name is Indy, and then though it pains him, my name is Henry Jones Jr.
Oh, weird.
So why did they do that?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
That's a very, very specific note.
It is. Well, that also made me think, when has Indiana Jones introduced himself as Indiana Jones? And I can only think of one time, I think, in the whole series.
But when does he introduce himself as Henry Jr.?
He never does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they make it, there's a whole thing. Like, and he says in sotto voce, Henry Jones Jr. You're like, what? So how? Andy's in college? I just don't get it.
I think they are the same age, but I mean, we've established that Marion likes much older men.
Yeah. I still don't know if they were a thing, Marion and Oxley, or if he was just sort of like helping
they were
her out.
married, right?
No, they weren't married.
Oh,
she was married to that Williams guy. Stepdad.
Okay. You're right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think he just sort of like
confused. I thought he was his dad. Yeah, you're right.
Oh yeah, according to the wiki thing that I read, he Oxley sort of sided with her when Indy took off, and didn't even realize that Mutt was Indy's kid or something. I don't know, but like sort of like took her under his wing, but not like romantically. I don't think.
Oh, okay.
But Mitch, I want to ask you, because you said something really interesting a minute ago, when Indy's got that awesome line that we all like. We went to the university together, and you were never this interesting. And you said you weren't quite sure it was an Indiana Jones line. Like, do you are you solid with this Indiana Jones that we see here in this scene and in this movie?
No, I'm not really. I mean, that's what's so weird. It's like he. I don't know, that line is so good, but it doesn't sound like the kind of thing Indy would say. It sounds because he's. I don't know. He's. I don't know. There's just something about it that doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
There's something. Yeah. There's. We've complained at certain points, not even just in this movie, but also in some of the other movies, some of the other non-Raiders movies, as I like to call them, where Indy will just say something that's like super, like just a huge dud line that you wouldn't want him to say, like I'm a bad penny or something or whatever, always eager to help or whatever, like just a very lame line. But here he's got a fantastic line, and yeah, I think you're right. I'm kind of, oh wait, is that Indiana Jones? Is that a little too sly for him or something? I don't know.
I don't think it's in evidence that the bad penny was a bad line either, Tom. That was a bad line to Tom Taylor, but I'm not sure that was.
All right. The dog agrees with me.
Yeah, do you hear the dog? You can cut this out.
No, we love the dog.
But there are places where he has lines that do sound like Indy. Like I like it when he says part-time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That feels like him.
Yeah.
They're kind of like, like not as much thought put into what he's saying that is a good line or something. Like, like put your hands down, you're embarrassing us or something like that. I think that's like the easier it goes by, the more it seems like Indiana Jones. And that's kind of true of this line, but yeah, it's interesting. It does make
But
you think.
I love the line, and I would never want it to be cut. I just think it's surprising, and you know what? I'll take the surprises when I can get them in this movie.
I think that's what I want. Yeah, like people, again, we've said this so many times, but people, fight against like, okay, it's Indiana Jones in the 50s, it's Indiana Jones with flying saucers. I'm like, I kind of want all that. I want all that interesting new stuff.
Yeah.
Because, there's only so many biblical desert, Nazi things you can do with Indiana Jones. Do something different. Like put him somewhere else and have something else happen. But that's cool.
I'm suddenly thinking, because Mitch, your comment was absolutely brilliant, and Tom, your question was absolutely brilliant.
No.
But now I'm suddenly wondering, like, is Indiana Jones the same character in all four movies, or is he four different characters with four different writers? Like, are we just assuming he's the same character? But like, I'm suddenly wondering, because he seemed so much different in Last Crusade, and he seems so much different in this. Like, is he a lot different in Temple of Doom also? And we just sort of eased into that because it was right after Raiders.
I think I'm ready to accept him being very different in this movie, just because it's a much bigger time jump from any of the other ones, and it's a different weird decade and stuff, and so I can get that, but yeah, I keep thinking I want them to do more with that or something. Just have him be a different guy. I don't know.
I feel that I like the way that he's mellowed and slowed down.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing I'll say about the movie, we throw rocks at it, understandably at times, but I do like how Indy is. He's reclined.
Yeah.
And that's appropriate. It makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't feel that he's his vulnerabilities are realistic and appropriate, and yet it's well done. And I think that's to Harrison Ford's credit.
Yeah, he's got that very steady, strong, very mellow way that he deals with Mutt.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just that kind of kind of fatherly.
Yeah.
Just by sit down. You don't have to freak out about everything.
And the walk and talk when Mutt says, that he likes fixing motorcycles. And he's like, well, if you really love it, don't let anybody tell you not to do it. And it's like, I totally buy that moment. It's like, yeah, that's Indiana Jones. I
totally agree.
I believe that.
Yeah.
In fact, it's kind of easier to believe that than when he does this about face, I'm your father, you dropped out of school. It's like, that's just set up,
That's a gag. Yeah.
It's a gag. Right. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
When it just, even now, he's in the barber chair and he just has this
electric chair.
It's like this sort of confident resignation where he's like, I know I'm in the chair and you guys could dispose of me in the middle of the jungle and no one would ever know. But aliens? Really? Aliens?
Stupid,
I think, I think we can, I'll sit here. I'll do the best I can with this. No one
he's
needs
a little
to kill anybody.
beyond all this. He's a little he's seen it all. He's like, I'm done. You know what? I didn't even want to come down here. I wanted to find my friend. I could be back at school, but I got fired, I guess, because I'm a Nazi apparently, or I'm a communist sympathizer. I don't know. Just everybody, God, where's my paper? I just want to sit down and read my paper. I do love, there's like, we were mentioning like kind of Spielberg-y touches in the last minute with those silhouettes and stuff. I really do like when Oxley's coming at him and he's quoting his T.S. Eliot and there's that zoom on his hand and then Indy grabs it. That's like a very nice, familiar Spielberg-y kind of camera move that I like. Just like playing with the frame that way. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, and then the reveal of Mac is also really nice because it's in one. It's he moves him out of frame and then Mac's standing there and I thought, that's a little Spielberg back there.
Yeah. Mac makes me so angry.
Can we talk about Mac?
Yeah.
Oh, please.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
So I did have this one thought. So this whole business of Mac, like friend, foe, and then friend, foe, friend, foe.
Faux friend.
I thought about this. There's this book by Alexander McKendrick, the guy who did Sweet Smell of Success, and he wrote a book about directing movies. And he has this notes for the screenwriter's wall, these sort of things, words of wisdom. And one of them is, 2 elements of suspense does not make it twice as suspenseful. It makes it half as suspenseful.
Wow.
And I thought,
awesome.
that is so true with this. It's like, wouldn't it have been better if Mac would have redeemed himself? Because would it give you somewhere else to go with him? You can't just do the same thing over again and then throw it off with a. And I know we're getting ahead, but I think that's a problem with the movie. All the way through, like they keep doing stuff over again. It's like truck chase, car and a motorcycle chase. Okay, oh no, another truck chase. Oh, another truck chase, another truck chase, and it's like, oh man, give me more ideas. Like I love throwing the shotgun shells into the air and it's an idea, And the film really runs out of ideas. And that's very frustrating. I mean, it's like I'll take the ants. That's an idea,
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and then the ideas that it has, it plays weirdly with them. Like I keep coming back to like why they played coy with the fact that Mutt's mom is Marion Ravenwood. Like everyone going into the theater knows that Marion Ravenwood's in the movie. Karen Allen's name is at the top of the credits in the beginning of the film, and then they layer this non-mystery over that, which just muddles everything. Like it's like everything's got a sheen of like, I don't know, eraser marks or something. Like the whole Oriana story is confusing. The whole Oxley where he's been and what's he been doing is confusing. Why not just say if you knew that Marion was Mutt's mom, that would like cut out like 15 pages of dialogue. You'd be like, oh, my mom. Oh, who's your mom? Marion Ravenwood. Get out of my way. I'm going to go save Marion Ravenwood. And the whole audience is with me. This is going to be really exciting. And everything that happens is going to matter because I'm trying to get to Marion Ravenwood.
Yeah, and then you wouldn't have to have quicksand. You have to have quicksand and snakes.
Or Mac.
It's a movie that people don't talk to each other in. And it's weird because even as obnoxious as Temple of Doom gets in places, people do have a few conversations in it,
Yeah.
And certainly Crusade, they have some really good conversations in that one.
Yeah.
Well, and everybody in those movies seems to fit into the movie. And I just feel like they're throwing so many different characters in this movie. And like the main character hasn't even shown up yet. But like a lot of these characters like Mac or Oxley, they just don't seem to land. Like they just kind of dance around the surface, but I don't feel like there's a real reason for them in a lot of this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something about it feels like, it's like they're like, look, we spent $80 million. We're gonna finish.
We need some more stars.
We're gonna finish this.
We got to get some more.
Yeah, like just run. Maybe we'll do a few extra shots or an exterior of the tent or something like that. But look, just You know what I mean? And you're like, somebody's like, yeah, but I don't really understand. Yeah, that's fine. There's ants.
He's got a hat. He's got the hat. We'll show the hat in silhouette.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to swoon.
It's like it started with an idea, and that idea didn't happen, and it got changed 5, 6, 7 times, and then pretty soon they'd already shot the stuff, and they just, it was just a patchwork that they cobbled together, and they said, look, John Williams' score is going to just
right.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Yeah, they're trying to escape their lives, okay? That's all that's happening. They're going to go in, they're going to see a hat,
If John Williams' music's going to save it, then why do we have to have a needle drop of Shake, Rattle, and Roll? Like, wow. Hound Dog's okay, but a second needle drop is like, really? Okay.
Yeah. Apparently we're in the 50s. Okay.
But it's a kind of a Scooby Squad by the time everybody gets all together, and that's I don't know whether they do it in James Bond too recently. The last James Bond movie has this turns into Scooby Squad things, and I don't know if it's TV that's affecting this or where this comes from.
I mean, Last Crusade sort of had that too, I guess. They got the team back together.
But there's just 4. There's just 4. Yeah. It's
That's
just Marcus, Sala, Indy, and Henry.
Yeah.
4's okay. This is like this is a lot.
This is like a mom and her kid, and a turncoat,
and a best friend,
and
another best friend, and
There's a line in this minute that is massive, but it gets kind of, I guess, glossed over. Indy shouts out, "Why do you think Akator even exists?"
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to. He throws it out there, and then he's like, "No, it's just a legend. It's all legend." She's like, "No, why don't you, whatever? But you don't believe your own eyes or whatever." And then he says, "Why do you think Akator even exists?" And you're like, "Okay, wait a second, hold up. This is like a chalkboard, and you're gonna go on. You're gonna say, "Didn't you guys ever go to Sunday school?" Like it's one of those moments. It's like, no, okay, why did Akator exist? What is? This is the big whole huge thing here, and they don't like. I don't know why. If again, it makes no. It's a flip flop. You're like, so does Indy believe it or does he not believe it? If it's a legend, why would he be asking why it would exist?
Right. I like when he was first talking about it in the juke joint with Mutt in the 50s, back in the 50s, he was saying like he was doing this sort of thing like it's a legend, city of gold, whatever and stuff. And but I maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like by the time they found the skull and he was theorizing about, like, he had that Agatha Christie moment where he was like theorizing about what actually happened and stuff, and Oxley found the skull and then he brought it. I thought that he said, he must have taken it to Akator. I don't know. Like, I feel like he had a better idea that Akator was a real place by now, but maybe I'm wrong.
But see, I think that part of the issue though is like in the other 3 movies, like in movie 1, there's a big box. Movie 2, there's some rocks. Movie 3, there's a cup. It's a tangible single thing. You could that's what a grail. That's a cup. Okay, good. I'm good to go. But this, they never really explain what they're looking for. Like sometimes it's a skull, sometimes it's a city, sometimes it's an idea. Like it's just there's not really anything there.
Like I love that line in that moment where he's holding the skull and he's kind of delighted. He's like, "What is this thing?" But that's an excellent question that is never really answered at all, and not in like a cool, like, "Oh, it's mysterious." It's like, wait, no. Literally, what are you guys trying to do? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you trying to do?
Well, I feel like they don't know what they're looking for, and I sort of feel like neither did Spielberg and Lucas. Like,
it's nice to see John Hurt.
Yeah,
I'll say that.
Yeah.
Trying to stay positive.
Yeah, I wish they give him a little bit more to do than than just throw a skull up in the air and catch it later on. It's
right.
It's weird that he doesn't have a real human function in the story. Yeah. That kind of surprises me a little bit. In fact, that's the thing about Spielberg. 9 times out of 10, he cares about people and emotions. And so you just wonder, is he just going through the motions on this one and just kind of phoning it in? Because I kind of thought direction-wise he kind of phoned in Last Crusade, but then when I saw this, I was like, oh my God, Last Crusade is like Grand Illusion compared to this. So.
I always just figured that they kind of started it and it was a good idea. It was Harrison Ford's idea. They said, let's come together. They couldn't agree on the aliens versus whatever it is. And so like that's why it is kind of messy. It's just like, I just imagine after like a phone call going like, fine, George, that's fine. Listen, just do whatever you want. It's fine.
Does he wear the hat? If he wears the hat, I'm there. Okay, good.
Yeah. No, it's good. Just do it, and it's all right. Yeah. Just finish it.
And nobody has to compromise or negotiate. Everybody just kind of gets whatever they want. Is how it feels to me. So if you want this, you can have that. If you want this, you can have that. We'll just we'll just keep pouring it on.
Yeah,
it's going to be fine.
As long as everybody's ideas are a little less strong than they were in the beginning, we're good. Everybody gets what they want. That's what compromise is all about. Well, as we're recording this, the last we've heard is that Spielberg is not directing Indy 5, that there will be an Indy 5 apparently someday, and that it's now going to be directed by James Mangold. And Mitch, what do you think of that? Do you think that you have to have Steven Spielberg directing an Indiana Jones, or is there room for new blood? Or what
I
do you
would
think?
say that if Steven Spielberg is going to direct the next Indiana Jones the way that he directed this one, then bring on James Mangold.
Yeah, I kind of agree, I think.
And I thought, James Mangold's a pretty good director. I mean, that Wolverine movie was pretty tough. I thought that was great.
That was.
I mean, it was really effective. And he studied under Alexander McKendrick, by the way, at Cal Arts.
Oh, wow.
McKendrick was one of his teachers.
Oh, very cool.
But, yeah, I think that'd be great.
Yeah.
Who's going to play Indy?
I think the Indiana Harrison Ford is Indiana Jones. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to Indy 5.
Wow.
I'm curious.
I'm looking forward to Indy 5.
I'm looking forward to it more, honestly, since they said that Spielberg is not directing it. And I have nothing against the man. He's one of my heroes. But I think Paul Sullivan was saying back when he was on the show that he had the excellent point that I don't think his heart is in these kind of movies anymore. He's throwing a Ready Player One every once in a while, but he's more like a Lincoln guy, Bridge of Spies guy, Munich, which is fine. That's cool. But I don't expect an Indiana Jones movie from him anymore.
Yeah, well, you don't have to do it.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't have to do it. You can, if you're not passionate about it, do something else.
But wasn't there a quote about this? Because I remember after when he came out, when Last Crusade came out, he said that was his apology for how dark Temple of Doom was. Yeah. And I feel like he said the same thing about this. Like this was like a sugary sweet confection after Munich.
Oh, really? Okay, but I think most of the audience of Indiana Jones see Munich, so they weren't offended or weren't bothered by Munich.
Yeah,
and Munich's a good movie. All right.
Yeah.
So what year will it be taking place in?
I think I just read somewhere like this, like I don't know. You see all these things.
Probably the early '60s, right? Wouldn't that?
They
make
said
sense?
the '60s. Yeah, it'd be someplace in the '60s.
But this is 58. Oh. And this was
it might be late 60s, yeah.
Oh my God, Indy drops acid. It's going to be like Indiana Jones and the homicidal hippies.
Yeah. And he immediately believes everything he's seen over the last movie. Like, oh, I get it now.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Well, speaking of beautiful.
Hey.
Oh, hey, beautiful.
There's something coming over the wire. This just in from Professor Chrissy Porter. What bedtime stories would Indiana Jones tell his kid?
Wow.
He
has
stories.
one. Yeah, he now has one, right?
Indiana Jones and the free teacher's apple. Indiana Jones and the open office window.
Well, we see how he's with kids in when he's 99 or whatever. He's like, Claudius.
Stop it, Pete.
Always trying to ruin everything.
Yeah, I know.
Trying to have fun.
Well, Mitch was asking about
we brought you on this show to lend some credibility.
that was your first problem right there.
Yeah.
I mean, but I am trying to imagine, like Indy he sits down. He's got like an 8-year-old. It's like the kid pulls out like a Dr. Seuss book, and he would probably immediately go like, meh, and shut it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then and then he would launch into
maybe just like some old like Native American stories or something, or some some mythology from some other culture or something.
Yeah, or
you don't think
the
he'd
mysteries
tell about
of King Tut's tomb and the curse of the archaeologists.
Oh my God.
So you think he'd go with something like that rather than his own life stories?
Maybe.
That's what I was wondering. Would he go on like all the maybe it'd be a bedtime story of all the stuff he didn't do? You don't know all the people he knocked on his door, and he's like, nah, I'm not gonna do that.
He almost told Mutt about the Pancho Villa adventures, which is from the TV show.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
There once was a kid who stuck with it and actually got his Eagle Scout badge instead of chasing down some cross.
Yeah.
And he became a home equity loan officer.
Right.
He's met like literally every famous person in history. Like, well, let me tell you, kid, I met Hemingway and Madame Curie and Salvador Dali. He's met every single person.
Flew with the Lafayette Escadrille. Yeah.
Yeah. The kid will be bored.
Yeah,
really
exactly.
Want to read green eggs and ham. What's wrong with green eggs and ham? Well, Mitch, thank you so much for joining us once again.
Well, thanks for inviting me. I always love to come do the show. So
yeah, we love having you. We love having your insight. And I failed last week. I did not give you an opportunity to plug your excellent shows. So please do that now and make up for my mistake. Thank you.
Well, you can come listen to the Alien Minute or Aliens Minute or our new show 007 by 7, where we're investigating the James Bond movies 7 minutes at a time. We have finished Dr. No, and we are getting ready to start recording From Russia with Love.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I want to plug your show that you just do on your Patreon account, your Quadfecta show.
Oh, yeah.
Where you explain what that is, because it's awesome.
We try to find a director who has made 4 truly great films in a row, and we can debate truly great one way or the other. But we just did one on Howard Hawks. We found some interesting combinations of 4. So it's a great game to play.
Yeah, it's not as easy as it sounds.
Keaton would have been my choice.
Oh wow!
Can you rattle the 4 off? That you think
it's like 3 great ones and 1 like pretty good one.
See, that's what happens.
See, every time.
Yeah, but his pretty good ones are great. So I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. That becomes what's fun is arguing over whether the pretty good one is maybe deserving of being considered great.
Yeah.
I was on there discussing John Landis, and you get to a point where you're like, "Is American Werewolf in London a great movie? No, but it's great. It's a great movie. So yes." Well, yeah, everybody check out Mitch in his many places because he's got smart things to say. Check us out at our regular places. You don't have to make me have to say it, but I'll say it anyway. We go to IndianaJonesMinute.com. Go to Indiana Jones Minute and the Listener's Crusade on Facebook. Check us out on Twitter and Instagram and all the other places. You can support the show over at patreon.com/Indiana Jones Minute. You can get early access to this show. You can get access to our bonus show, Anything Goes, where we talk about all sorts of excellent nerdy and filmic things. And you can even get like postcards from me and Jerry and Pete every month if you're that dedicated, which you should be. We've got many happy customers who like hearing from us. But whatever you do, please make sure you come back here next Monday for minute 62 of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull here on the Indiana Jones Minute.
You're faking it, right?
We're all faking it.
I say that all the time.